baby. The 2025 Major League Baseball prediction show has begun. We go ahead and welcome in the Facebook crowd as well. As this is going to be short and sweet, we're going to decide to do it at this time so we can get it into your lunch hour. Now, there's one thing I do want to put in. You kind of have to be in the YouTube chat to understand what I'm talking about, so I could put it in the Facebook chat. To be honest with you, you're not really going to know what I'm saying. So when you're a country club member, we have emojis, and the emojis are things that the country club members who are helping support the channel, they can smash the emoji as the game goes on, and we change them a lot, but we have consistent ones. Well, we need suggestions for this guy here. I'm going to put it there, and I guess I could put it on the screen for the Facebook folks as well, but we're going to vote on it on the platform that is YouTube come opening day. So you see him up there on the screen, and what he's supposed to represent is a rally, a Braves Country Radio rally mascot, right? When we're trying to do a rally, when we're getting on a roll, people can smash him and put him all over the screen. We want to do something fun this year with it. Well, we're going to leave it up to everybody who wants to vote on this on opening day, and it's going to be a clean name. We are a family channel, so heathens like the ill-reputed Hellion, most of her stuff will be discredited, as I see some of the things she's putting on the screen. It's one thing to use nasty names for your fantasy baseball team. It's another thing to use it for your fantasy life. So let's keep it clean, and but realize he's being used for a rally. And so that's what we're going to do with it, and eventually we'll probably do other things with them. But we're debating on a name. I'm not going to tell you the name that we're going to add to the chat. We're going to do that on the voting side of it for opening day. You'll be able to vote on it that day, and we'll figure out who the winner is. But because I don't want to kind of put anybody into one direction or the other, I want to see what y'all come up with. But you want a fun name and something that's kind of interchangeable. And so there you go with that. We'll just, by the way, they're saying that Yarborough just signed a $2 million deal with the Yankees as he is coming over part of their bullpen. He's going to be a long relief guy. He's a really good long relief guy, by the way. They're putting him up as a rotation option on MLB Network. He's not really a rotation guy. He's more of a guy that is expected to go 2 to 3 innings every time he goes out there. But anyways, put the names in the chat. We're gonna pick the 4 best ones and put them on opening day, and that's that. Now, for the actual show that we're doing, what we're doing here is we're gonna give you MLB predictions for 2025. It's gonna be all the divisions, all the playoff teams. We're going over under. That's why you have that on the screen. If you look on the far left side, this is the Pacoda projection. So this is the far left number is the simulated win number, and that's where they're at right now. As of right now, you see. So for instance, they're simulating that Baltimore would win the AL East with 87.3 wins. And what's the points for? Because it's all scientific data, so that they don't do an even number. We're going to go through all of them and give you over, under. There's a couple of pushes or ones that I'm just staying away from. But for those who like to bet on these season long, you're going to have that option to go to your local betting market and do that. Someone was asking me what we wanted to do. I was like, man, honestly, I'm not touching it this year. I can't, because in the middle of the season, I'm moving out of state. And the Dopey app that they have down here is not going to be available up in Carolina country, so it's really pointless for me to do it. I'm not going to take a flight down here to cash out one way or the other. So, and there are some ones that I think are drastically underrated or overrated, and so we'll get into that. So take that with a grain of salt. If you are like to play the season-long betting options. And whether the Pacoda numbers are your numbers or not in your app, I have no idea of knowing that, but you can use this as a guideline of what the Pacoda projections are. And a lot of them, the Pacoda projections are much different. So just keep that in mind. All right, without further ado, we are going to start this up now, and we're going to get into – send this over to the last few radio stations that are joining us a little into it. And by the way, if you're riding down the road and you are listening to us on radio, it's Braves Country Radio on YouTube. And if you can jump in there and smash the like, much appreciated. Subscriptions as well. We're really focusing on subscriptions this year. We were always focused on likes before, but it's subscriptions. If most people could have seen, we are up. Is it 35,000 now? We're up over 35,000. Our goal this year is by the All-Star break in Major League Baseball, we get to 40K. And then we'll just see where it takes us. If we go well past that, then we're gonna have another goal by the end of the season. But we want to see where we are at the All-Star break. And thank you for everybody who drops in subscription. I do know we got a ton of subscriptions during the Tokyo series, because we've jumped about 1,000, or maybe, well, I think it's over 1,000 since that broadcast on Tuesday and Wednesday, where the views were incredible. We got 50,000 if you count the game we did that night. I believe we ended up like 52 or 53,000 total between the three games, but the majority of them came from the Tokyo series. Obviously, spring training ball doesn't bring in a lot, but we do it for y'all, and we also do it because I feel like it's disingenuous to say you're covering the team and then not watching the spring training games. So if I'm going to be watching them, I might as well be giving them to you. I listen to a lot of different outlets, and you can tell the guys and those on social media, you can tell the folks who people follow religiously, and you're like, dude, they did not watch any of the damn game. So I say it when we talk about football betting, baseball betting, just the Armchair Quarterback show in general, which is coming back this year. You have to watch the game. And if you don't watch the game or listen to the game or consume it in some way, does that person you're following really know what the hell they're talking about? Probably not. All right. Good to see folks in the chat. I don't know what y'all are talking about, but John pushing buttons. Good to see everybody. And let me see here. Anthony, I thought I saw a Hellion because she made the inappropriate comment of the day. And see who else is in. James, good to see you. And if I missed anybody, just jump back in the chat because we're going to get this thing rolling. Ariato. I don't get. Did I miss something in the news or something? Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this. And by the way, Braves Country X, you'll be able to follow us not only on X. I'm gonna reach out to Envy about this, but we're getting the Discord set up, and I just want to know what it looks like on y'all's end. So I'm gonna get with her, but basically just want to see. We're trying to do something for y'all for when the game's not going on and you just want to shoot the bull. I don't know how often I'll be in it, but for y'all to just kind of shoot the bull, because I know a lot of folks don't want to give out their personal cell phone numbers and all that kind of weird stuff, because next thing you know, you got a creeper on your hands. All right, let's get into it. All right, we're going to start with the American League East. We're going to go American League, and then we're going to go National League. We're going to give the playoff teams World Series. We're going to do Cy Youngs. We're going to do MVPs and Rookie of the Years. So we'll do. All right, let's get into it. First off and foremost, you're going to see it on your screen of how it's being predicted. And I've got some similar ones, but Honest Engine, most of them are not. Most of them are not the similar projections that you're seeing on this screen. I think some of these are way, because you got to realize this is all done analytically and with the computer base, and they don't take certain things into consideration. So what you're seeing there with the Baltimore winning, Toronto, New York, Tampa Bay, and Boston last, I have far from that, because I think there are certain things that are going to transpire, and that's in each individual division. All right, let's go ahead and get into number 5 on my list. My list looks a little flip-flopped, and number 5 on the list, coming in last place in the American League East, I have the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't believe that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be that good, to be honest with you. I don't like their pitching. I think there's a lot of turmoil with the fact that they're not going to re-sign the Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and could he get traded at the deadline? And I think this is going to be something that they didn't do a ton in the offseason, and they may not be very far behind the division winner, but I don't see how they're going to outlast the rest of the teams in the division 162-game season. So my first one on there is going to be the Toronto Blue Jays coming in 5th, and I will put this in the chat as we go. I'm flying solo today, so I'm not able to do all the things that I'm able to do sometimes. But nonetheless, we're going to have we're going to put them in the chat as we go to the next division. I guess the best way for me to put it. So number 5, I've got Toronto. Number 4, and by the way, Toronto's over. If you haven't already figured that out, 85.5. I think it's way too high, way too high. Number 4, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Tampa Bay Rays. It's kind of a push for me. I wouldn't go over or under that 82 mark. I think Tampa Bay always finds a way to make things work, and they will find a way to be around the 500 mark. But they don't have a ton of depth in the offense. Their pitching's going to be fine. It normally is. But here's the other thing it's the wild card of it. It could be a big boost, because I almost took them to finish as high as 2nd in this division at one point, but I pumped the brakes on it. They're not playing in their home stadium this year. And so because they're not playing in their home stadium this year, they're going to be at Steinbrenner Field, which is the Yankees' spring training facility. And normally you would say, well, that's terrible. They're going to be screwed. But it's a smaller park. I want to say it sits around 6,000. I might be off by a little bit up or down. But the place is going to be packed. So there's going to be less fans in the stands to a degree. That warehouse that they used to play at Tropicana Field was always, it felt like, if you've ever been to that stadium, it felt like a dud. You felt like you were going in there basically watching a baseball game in a library. It was super quiet. Everything was echoey. And there was no, now when the opposing team was Boston or the Yankees or even the Braves, it usually filled up, but it felt like a road game. I think this year's going to be a little different. I feel like you're going to get enough fans who want to go sit out in the elements, in the breeze, sitting there on the water. And I think you're going to get, now they're going to deal with a ton of rain delays, all that kind of stuff, but nonetheless, that could be a positive factor. But that stadium, the ball flies, and can their pitching staff keep the ball in the stadium? That concerns the hell out of me. So in theory, they could end up last, but I could also see them going on a magical run and it being the story of the summer in the American League. Number 4, or excuse me, I just gave you number 4. Number 3 is going to be the Baltimore Orioles. I understand that they're being projected 87 wins. I don't buy it. Their pitching staff is, we'll say, shallow at best. And their offense is going to score. I get that, but pitching always wins. Pitching and defense wins divisions, and I don't see how they're going to outlast the rest of the division when they're constantly going to be pulling their starter in the 3rd or 4th inning. Remember, they lost Corbin Burns, and if they're in it, they'll make a move at the deadline. They got to be in it, and I think it's going to be very, very, Grayson Rodriguez goes to the IL this spring. That was the guy that they were banking on. And Charlie Morton, we know what he is, but he was realistically one of their big signings in the offseason. And he's a guy that's going to go out there and pitch about 5 innings, sometimes 6. He's going to give up a few runs, but he's going to be a stress on your bullpen when on the days he pitches. And I don't see him faring well in the American League. All right, number 2. Now, this will be the shocker of it because you'll figure out who number 1 is. Number 2 on this is going to be the New York Yankees. I understand that they have a lot of injuries, but at the same token, I don't think they're going to outlast the Boston Red Sox. I really don't. I think they're going to have a big issue going in to the season, losing the basically their ace, their rock, which was Garrett Cole, and now what you're banking on is a very shabby infield defense, who now their ace is Max Fried, who pitches a ton of ground balls, and I think that's going to be a problem. I still think Max will pitch well, and there's going to be nights where he's going to be lights out because we've seen it all. But usually when Max pitches, you need that defense. And in that American League, it's going to be really interesting to see when he goes into Boston and his left-handed hook is coming, they're going to pepper the hell out of that green monster. So I'm going with the Boston Red Sox as a big shocker. By the way, the Yankees, I do think that they get over the 85 win mark. Obviously, I don't believe Baltimore is going to get the 87 win mark, but Boston is sitting at 80. Bare minimum, I think they at least have a winning record. At least. And so with that being said, I'm going with Boston. I like what they've done. I like a lot of their moves. I think Bregman, and now that Devers has finally fell in line, I love the fact that Rafael Devers is doing his best to try to be the team player, but you're going to have Bregman over there. That offense is going to rake, and I think they've done pretty well. Their starting pitching, honestly, I don't think it's that bad. And the bullpens are, we all know bullpens are always a bit of a question mark, but when you got Garrett Crochet, who's an American League Cy Young candidate, you've got Walker Buehler, you've got now you've got Lucas Giolito coming back from injury this year. You've got Brian Bayo, who's now going to be a 3 or 4 starter. He's no longer being looked upon as the number 1. When you tell me Brian Bayo is my 4 starter, he's great. When he's your ace, you go, oh, I don't know about this. So they've got a lot of pitchers that I think are going to be very interesting. Cutter Crawford, you got a lot of other injury aspects that are coming on, but this offense is going to be legitimate. The big question mark with me for them is the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman is their closer. That was announced a few days ago. That's good. That's a bit of a concern, but when Chapman is on, he is on, and we do know that the Red Sox won't be scared to go out there and get themselves a closer if one is for the taking. And once again, their offense, I believe Tristan Casas is going to be a guy who, now that he shut his mouth and stayed out of the whole Rafael Devers thing, I think he'll be there in the middle of the lineup to help rake a little bit. Everybody expected a big breakout year last year. We didn't really get it. It was an okay year. I think this is the year that he breaks out. And Christian Campbell, they're bringing him up, and I like that kid a lot. And when you have him and you've got Bregman, you've got an offense, and who knows what they get out of Trevor Story, but even still, a guy like Jarren Duran at the top of the order, this is going to be a team that's going to be in it all year. I think it's going to be a fun team this year. It's going to be a team that in the East, I'm actually going to start watching. I'm kind of rooting for this team this year. I'm not a Red Sox fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm kind of rooting for them this year because I think it's going to be a fun team to watch. I always enjoy all the American League East baseball. Baltimore is always a fun watch, but I question their pitching, and I think the Red Sox pitching is going to be just a little bit better. All right, we go on to the AL Central, and let me scroll this up to make sure it doesn't go flying by. Yep, you can see them all. All right, so once again, these are the Pacoda projections on your screen. These are not the actual my predictions. So just to clarify that for people who may just be joining. So the Pagoda projections have the Chicago White Sox down at the bottom, and I do not disagree. I think that is going to be a bit of an improvement. Last year, they were one of the all-time worst teams. I do think that if you want to get a decent number on that, the White Sox at 62 wins, they should be able to get over that number. I'm not guaranteeing it because I could see a 161 and 61 type of year. Or, sorry, 61 and 101 type of year, excuse me. But I would think that the White Sox can get over the 62 mark. But you never know. I mean, they haven't done a ton in the offseason, but I'm just looking at it as the teams that they do have will most likely not be in the situation that they are right now. As far as I think the pitching didn't get a whole hell of a lot better for the White Sox, but I do think the offense should be a little bit better. I'm sure they're going to move some guys, but guys like Luis Robert, you would think he's going to have a better year than what he did last year. He's got talent galore. So give me the White Sox finishing 5th and over their Pagoda projections. 4th, this is going to shock some people because I know everybody is very big on this team right now to win the division, including the Pagoda projections. I don't see Minnesota getting to 87, 88 wins. I don't see where in the world they're going to get it from. They didn't really improve drastically. And I still think they're going to have a problem scoring, and this is going to be a pretty solid American League Central once again this year. If you remember last year, 3 of them made the playoffs. I don't necessarily believe that's going to happen this year, but I do think at least 2 of them get in there. We'll do the playoff predictions after we get through all this. But give me Minnesota to finish under the 87 mark, 87.4 they have them. And give me the Detroit Tigers to finish 3rd. I think they're going to finish higher than that 4th position. They're going to have an opportunity to make the playoffs. It's what they do down the stretch. If you remember last year, they were kind of in the muck and didn't really get anything going until after the All-Star break. They traded away Flaherty, and lo and behold, this team got smoking hot, and they almost made a deep run into October. They still have the pitching. I still question the offense for the Tigers top to bottom. I do think they'd take a step forward. Guys like Torkelson and guys like Green and, of course, Carpenter. But I don't know if they're going to have enough consistent offense, so I'm leaving them at the number 3 mark. And their Pagoda projections is 78. I'm not going higher or lower on that. I believe that they'll get higher, but I'm not willing to punch my ticket on that one. Number 2 is where folks might be a little like, what? Number 2, I'm going with the Cleveland Guardians, which means the Kansas City Royals will win this division. Now, you see in the Pagoda projections, you got Kansas City at 82. I'm taking the over on that. You've got Cleveland at 80. I'm taking the over on that. I think they both get there. I think they're both in the mid-80s, maybe even high 80s. I believe this Kansas City team brought enough back with the pitching. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to take another step forward. He's going to become one of the most exciting players in all of baseball, and if he's not already. And I know you're going to try and tell me Shohei Ohtani is the most exciting. No, he's not, because he doesn't play defense. Yes, he pitches, but we won't even get him till midway through the season. So to hell with that. That's not as exciting as watching a guy playing elite defense every day, a great base runner, hell of a hitter. I'm right. It's ride or die with the Kansas City Royals with Bobby Witt. Now, obviously, he has to stay healthy. Obviously, he has to play well. But I think this team in general is built pretty well, and I really like a lot of their pieces. Cleveland, by the way, it's not like that they are – it's not like the Cleveland Guardians – I always want to say Indians, but it's not like the Cleveland Guardians are exactly chopped liver either. Their biggest question with them is how they produce the runs, and that's always going to be a question of that. By the way, if anyone has any questions or comments at the end of this, I am going to answer all those. So keep that in mind, because right now I've got my eyes on 9 different things. I don't see a lot of the comments. So if you got like a real question, save it for about the last 5 to 10 minutes. We'll do that. All right. So, but back to what I was saying with the Kansas City Royals. Cole Reagans has got to take that next step, and I believe he will. Seth Lugo, they brought back. Michael Wacha, they brought back. I think Chris Bubik is going to have a hell of a year. If he's available in your fantasy leagues, go grab him. He's a guy that was in the bullpen last year. Now, you may have a Raylo type situation where they're monitoring his innings, but Chris Bubik at one point was a very high prospect. A 6'3" southpaw with big strikeout numbers. Michael Lorenzo right now is being looked upon as the number 5 starter. He probably won't be that the whole year. They'll probably eventually put him in the bullpen as a long man. We all know how that works, but they've got other guys coming down the pipe. And as far as the bullpen's concerned, they did sign Estevez as their closer. He should do fine. The rest of their bullpen, little shoddy, but I like that offense. I like Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, Vinny P as they call him. They added Jonathan India at the trade deadline last year. You've got guys like Witt that I was talking about and Melendez, and you just got a whole team that I believe is going to be pretty darn exciting. They're going to put up some runs, and they're going to take home the division. So that's what we have there. All right, AL West, we'll move to that as we try to pick up the pace a little bit here. The American League West. Now, look, the American League West, a lot of folks probably look as probably not a very exciting. And when you see at Sacramento, I don't know why Dakota is putting Sacramento on there. That is ill-written. That is supposed to be ATH, and you're going to see that all year long everywhere else. It's ATH. They're not the Sacramento A's. They just want to be known as the Athletics because they are in the process of moving, and as they move, they don't want to go from Oakland to Sacramento to Vegas. They just want to be known as the Athletics, and they'll probably take on the Las Vegas name once they get there, but right now they just want to be known as that. So starting off at number 5, and this shouldn't shock a lot of people, and they'll all be pulling for them because to me, they're Braves West. They are the Los Angeles Braves, the Atlanta Angels, whatever the hell you want to call them. What the West Coast Braves. But to me, I've got to put the Angels back in the cellar. I don't see what they've done to really improve. They're going to be an aging team. They're going to have a lot of familiar faces that we know, but will probably be moved at the deadline. Don't be shocked if some of these guys that went out west, young man, end up coming back to the Braves at some point as the season goes on. But I don't see how their pitching and their offense, not to mention their bullpen's been gutted, I don't see how they make it to the 74 win mark. I've got them under 74 wins. In fact, I see them closer to that 70, 71 win range. Last year, I told y'all last year to take the under on the Angels. I still think they're overvalued, and they shouldn't be on Pacoda, but a lot of them are overvalued because of the market they play in. Number 4, give me Seattle. Seattle, I get it. Their pitching is elite. They're not going to score runs once again. They're not going to score runs once again. So how is Seattle going to get any real momentum and put wins together when the offense is going to continue to sputter? And one of the reasons why that offense sputters is because they don't spend money on the offense. They don't spend money on the offense because it's such a difficult place to hit the ball. It is a pitcher's park, by far probably the biggest pitcher's park in the last 30 years of Major League Baseball. And on top of that, you're going to have an offense that you can never recruit a guy no matter how much you want to pay him because he does, unless you're going to give him like a 15-year deal where he's set for life, you can screw it, I'll stay or I'll come, like they did with Julio Rodriguez. You're never going to get with those attractive free agents to come because the hitters want to be able to continue to build their numbers. It's not just for their next contract. You know, some of these guys really want to be in the Hall of Fame. And you're going to have a hard time making that argument. As much as they like to make the argument that Larry Walker didn't belong in because he didn't hit well, because his numbers were inflated in Colorado, they never make the argument the other way. Well, you got to give so-and-so a pass, and he ought to be up in the MVP votings because of the stadium that he plays in. They never do that. So it's a shame because it's a pretty good baseball city, but they never have the offense. So on top of that, I've just got them well under that. Was it 87 mark? There's no way. 87 and a half. So you have to get 88 to get to them. By the way, I always keep the receipt, so we'll look at this towards the end of the season. Remind me, I'm going to keep it in my desk drawer. But there's just I don't see it. Number 3, I'm going with the Houston Astros. I don't think that the Houston Astros did a whole lot to be able to warrant. Where are they at? 87? They might get to the 87 win, but it's iffy. I'd probably stay away from it, but if I'm going to go one way or the other, I'm going under. I believe this is kind of the slow decline of the Houston Astros. You saw it begin to chip away a little bit last year, but when you lose Kyle Tucker and you lose a lot of the other pieces and you really didn't bring a whole lot in, I do like the Christian Walker signing, but all of a sudden he's got an oblique injury, so who knows what's going to happen with that. I think they're going to struggle, and they always seem to struggle early, and I don't think they're going to have the nucleus to bounce it back. And so we'll go ahead and give you the full, as I put it in the chat. I'm going with the Oakland Athletics, Sacramento Athletics, Las Vegas Athletics. We'll just call them the A's. I'm going with the A's to finish second in the division. I really think this team could be really fun, and they could be the story of the major leagues if things go right. They're going to be in this weird minor league park. They're going to be nomads, and they're going to be contending for the playoffs and maybe even the division. I just couldn't put them above the Rangers because of the Bruce Bochy factor. Bruce Bochy always seems to win a World Series, lay an egg, go back to the World Series, lay an egg. Well, we're coming off the lay an egg year. And I don't know if he's going to go to the World Series, but I'm not betting against Bruce Bochy, and he gets DeGrom back. He got rid of Scherzer, which to me is an addition. I think that Texas team is going to find a way to win that division, but I like the A's a lot. I'm going to be watching the hell out of Oakland A's Athletics baseball this year. When the Braves end, I'm going straight to the A's games. I'm going to keep an eye on the Atlanta Angels, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to be pulling for those A's. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. And I've always liked their jerseys. I didn't like them back in the Bash Brothers days because too many people were on the Jose Canseco bandwagon. But those are long gone. And since, I'd say the last 15 years, I've always just kind of pulled for the A's in the American League because they're always the underdog. All right. So there you have the American League. Now for the National League. I guess we can go ahead and give you the Cy Youngs and MVPs to the American League. We'll do that. Cy Young, I know there's a lot of arguments left and right about which way you should go on that, but the American League Cy Young, to me, I think it's Jacob deGrom's to lose, and he's coming in right now. What app is this? It's I don't know if Fox Sports has an app or if they're sharing. But anyways, they're showing him at plus 1,400 to win the Cy Young. I think that dude's going to come back and deal. I really do. He's under the radar. Most people are on the Scooble or Garrett Crochet train. I get it. I just don't know if Crochet's going to have enough innings in him. Cole Reagans, to me, is a very, very questionable mark. He's being ranked at number 3. I really like Jacob deGrom. And he's even below Logan Gilbert, but the problem with Gilbert is I don't think he's going to get the run support. And it's eye-popping if you have a guy at the end of the year who's like 15-3 as opposed to 8-9 because his offense stinks. Well, the Rangers are going to score, so give me Jacob deGrom to get an American League Cy Young. And in the MVP race in the American League, And I kind of went back and forth on this one, but I'm going to say it with my chest. Give me my man, Bobby Witt Jr. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to put it all together. I know Aaron Judge will probably hit a bazillion home runs, but will he, not having Soto in that lineup? And it doesn't look like he's going to have Giancarlo Stanton anytime soon as well. So with that being said, those two guys really blanketed him, and you can pitch around some Aaron Judge if you know you have a much weaker bat behind him and in front of him. So give me Bobby Witt Jr. to win the MVP. I do like the Gunnar Henderson pick. I get and I understand why people are doing that. If you played better defense, Yordan Alvarez would have a much better chance at the MVP. Mike Trout is only in that conversation because of where he is on the all-time list, but his best days are behind him. So give me Bobby Witt Jr. And as far as the American League Rookie of the Year, I know a lot of folks like Jackson Jobe. A lot of them like Kobe Mayo. I personally like Kumar Rocker, but I don't know how many innings they're going to give him, so that's going to be really difficult to navigate. Give me Jason Dominguez of the New York Yankees. I think Jason Dominguez, rookie, left fielder, New York Yankees, phenomenal hitter. He should be hitting at the top of every lineup that you have, and the kid he's been one of their top prospects for quite some time. He's ready to shine. All right, we go to the National League, the senior circuit, where the Kings lay. We'll end with the National League East, so we'll start west. And you see there, how about the Dodgers being projected to win the division by 17? And they probably will, but the idea that the computer thinks so too is kind of a scary, scary thought. I don't think this shocks anybody, but as far as where we are with the National League West, we can probably rattle through this pretty quickly. We're going to go the Rockies. They're projected at 55 wins. I don't even know how the hell they get to that. The Rockies are going to be brutal. They're going to win some games because of the atmosphere there at Coors Field, but honest engine, that's going to be just a putrid team. And so their 55 win mark, I'd probably leave it alone. If I was going to bet one way or the other, I'd probably bet over, because you would hope that they could win more than 55. It won't be much. You'll be chewing those fingernails down the stretch if you take that on a live bet. Number 4 in the division, give me the San Diego Padres. I don't think they're going to get to the 85 win mark. I think I believe they're still sellers. Remember, they lost their owner about a year ago. He passed away, and there's just been a lot of talk that in general their ownership group, which is the family that remains, doesn't really want to own this team, and they want to sell it and do their own thing. And that's fine, but what does that mean as far as you go about, are they going to trade players away to save money, et cetera, until they can get rid of them? So it's just, I don't see how San Diego is going to get to 85 wins, because I do think guys like Dylan Cease are going to get traded away. I really do. I'd say that they're going to trade 3, maybe even more Major League Baseball assets this year at some point. If it's not during the regular season because they surprise everybody and do well, then it's definitely at the end of the season. But I just don't think I don't think the opening day roster you see right now is going to be the one they're going to finish with. Realize a lot of these teams go out and make these moves in the big markets so that they can sell season tickets. Then they get you hooked in, and then they start moving pieces off. The Dylan Cease rumors are going to go on all year long, assuming health. The number 3 on the docket, give me the over on the San Francisco Giants. They're being projected at 77.5, so you'd have to get to 78. I think they can do that. I think they'll be right around the 500 mark, somewhere around the 81, 82, maybe even higher win range. They've tried to spend some money. They only brought in realistically Adames. They did bring in Verlander, but he's obviously at the end of his rope. But honestly, I believe that you're going to have an outside chance of San Francisco winning San Francisco-type ball games where they're low-scoring games, where they scratch out 3 or 4 runs and the bullpen does the rest. They still have a great bullpen together. And it's going to be a team. They're going to be in the wild card conversation, but I just think they'll probably fall a bit short, so I'm at number 3. The number 2 team, I've got to have Arizona, and I think Arizona probably gets over that 87 win mark. I really do. I mean, I'm kind of tipping my hand where I'm going with playoff predictions, but that Arizona added a ton. And when you get Corbin Burns on there, that pitching staff is so deep, Jordan Montgomery is going to be in the bullpen to start the year. In fact, he's getting a start today, but they're just keeping him stretched out as a long man. He's had a terrible spring, I get it. But nonetheless, Jordan Montgomery, I mean, that guy was the reason why the Rangers won the 23 championship. And then, of course, number 1 is the Dodgers, but I'm going to give you a caveat to that. They're not getting to the 104 win range. 104, if you can get that number, and some books have it higher, bang the under. They're going to run away with that division in all likelihood. And what does that look like in September when they take the foot off the gas and they start getting ready? And they're going to want to win games in September so they don't get rusty, but they're going to take the foot off the gas. I don't think they get anywhere close to one. I do think that they get to the 100 mark, but I think that's about where they finish, 100, 101. The only way that they get over 104 is if there's another team in the National League, like the Braves or the Phillies or somebody, who's pushing them for the number 1 seed. That's the only way it happens. I don't think that's going to happen. So there you go with that. We'll put that in the chat. National League Central, let's roll to that and speed this up a tad. So the National League Central, you see right there, you got Cincinnati projected in last place at 74 wins. I think that is wildly inaccurate. My bottom team in that division, honestly, is St. Louis. I think St. Louis at 77 wins, I don't see it. They didn't do a whole lot to help their team. They're going to trade some pieces off at the deadline. The franchise has been a disaster the last several years. It's really ridiculous because they have a great fan base. And for them to just kind of muddle around in free agency and in the trade market and not really do any big things. This has been the last few years this has happened with St. Louis. It really is dumbfounding. And they didn't even do like what the Braves did about a decade ago and just trade everybody and do a full rebuild and let's tank. And no, they're just kind of halfway doing it. Nonetheless, I still think I'm going to take St. Louis to finish in the bottom of the division. 77 is it's a little too high for me. It's a little too high for me. Number 4 in the division, give me the Pittsburgh Pirates. And honestly, I think Pittsburgh, the 75 win mark is about where I can see them. I can see them going a touch above. They could fall below it, but I'm not going to take the Pirates number this year, but I do think that they're going to finish in 4th. I think they've got a good young team, and depending on what kind of momentum they could get, now a lot of it depends on Jared Jones, his injury. They still haven't updated that damn thing. But, Bubba Chandler sitting in the wings. Paul Skeens is a Cy Young favorite. I think Pittsburgh's going to be a fun team to watch, and eventually they'll run out of gas, but I see them finishing above the St. Louis Cardinals in that division. Number 3, give me the Milwaukee Brewers. But 80 wins, that's incredibly low. For a team, they're the Tampa Bay Rays of the National League. They find a way to do it with less every year. 80 wins is incredibly low. I'm more convinced that they'll get over 80 wins than I am who's going to win the division. But 80 wins is incredibly low for the Milwaukee Brewers. And so when you take that into consideration and we know that the Cubs are head and shoulders above the rest in this division on paper. I am going to take the Cubs to win the division, but I got the Cincinnati Reds getting over the 74 win mark. I just believe in that dugout, they're going to pull the right strings. Remember, Tito's back, and he went to the Reds. I think he's going to pull the right strings. I think he's going to have them in the conversation all year long. I don't necessarily love their roster. Offensively, I do. Pitching, it's a little bit of a question mark. But they did bring in a couple of guys like Brady Singer to try to help that roster. So give me the Cubs to win the division and the Reds to finish in second. But more importantly, Milwaukee's going to crush the 80. Milwaukee's going to get 84, 85 wins. The question is, can Cincinnati get just above them? I think they will. I think it's going to be a fun summer in Ohio. And then now we get to the where the Kings lay in the National League East. And this one, I think there is a lot of question marks at the top. At the bottom, I think everybody's on board with the fact that you're going to go Miami. And their 60 win total, that's probably a touch low, but they really are still in a rebuild. So you don't know what they're going to do at the deadline. The number 4 spot, I definitely love Washington getting above the 68 win total. Washington Nationals are going to have an offense. The question is going to be that starting pitching, but they're going to have an offense. And so with that being said, I've got to go with them above that win mark, but I just don't think the pitching is going to get them over the hump to get them into the top part of the division. So give me Washington at 4. And at number 3, despite what Bakota says there, I don't see any way that the Mets starting pitching is going to outlast the Philadelphia Phillies for 162 games. I think it's going to be a fun race. And in the wild card, I think the Mets are going to be in the wild card argument the whole damn year. And that offense is going to score runs. But when you look at that starting pitching, outside of Kodai Senga, it's a big question mark. Holmes is going to be a starter. Okay, maybe he makes the transition. But will he? And if so, he's your ace. He's your opening day starter. He's your ace. That's a bit of a stretch. And you see some of these other guys who are banged up. They brought in Frankie Montas, IL. Sean Manaea, IL. They are just walking wounded already. The season hasn't begun. I can't put New York over Philadelphia and Atlanta. And so and this doesn't surprise anybody. A, you see the Pagoda projections. And B, we know the name of this station is Braves Country Radio. So, of course, we always see it with Atlanta Braves glasses on. But give me the Braves to win the division and to go way past that 94 win mark. I think Philadelphia goes above the 85 win mark, too, for that matter. I don't think the Mets are going to get to 91. I think they'll be somewhere around the 88, 89 win mark. I think Philadelphia will be in the very low 90s. And I think the Atlanta Braves will be somewhere between 95. If everything goes well, we'll get to the century mark. But I would think that we're at least going to go 95, assuming we don't go decimated by injuries again like we did last year. You would hope it can't happen 2 years in a row. You would hope that you don't lose 6 of the 10 everyday players on your Atlanta Braves missed 2 months or more last year. You would hope that couldn't happen this year. But you never know. But assuming health, I've got the Braves winning the division. As far as the Cy Young is concerned, I'm going with Paul Skeens. I put NE, but it's supposed to be NL National League East, in the chat. So I looked up first, I was like, what did I have, the New England Patriots go? Anyways, if you can't see the chat, you don't know what I'm talking about. So Cy Young, I'm going with Paul Skeens. They wanted to give it to him last year. Chris Sale ended up being so damn dominant down the stretch that they couldn't. But I think he's going to be the sexy pick, the one that all the media is going to get on the hype bandwagon for. Isn't he the favorite, right? Yeah, he's the favorite too. Zach Wheeler's number 2. Blake Snell's 3, Corbin Burns 4, and Chris Sale 5, by the way. So if you think you can do it back-to-back, you're getting plus 1,800. Keep that in mind. Keep an eye on Sandy Alcantara. I just think he's going to have such a low win rate that he'll get overlooked because Sandy Alcantara is going to deal. And I do like Spencer Strider, but because we don't know when he's going to come back and what his limits will be and how many innings they will allow him to pitch, which probably won't be 150 plus, I took Spencer Strider out of the calculation. Spencer Schwellenbach is going to have a hell of a year, but he's not a household name. But if he does things like he did against the Yankees the other night, 6 innings, 10 strikeouts and whatnot, he keeps pumping those numbers up. Keep an eye on him. He won't be a terrible one to put money on now, and then most of these books allow you to cash out halfway through the year, and then you make your money and get out of Dodge. Because they're going to want to give it to a household name. And Spencer Schwellenbach just isn't that because he didn't have the dominant career in college. My MVP we went back and forth in this it's a green room that me and the guys are in before the show started. Guys from different stations. We went back and forth on this, and I get it. Shohei Ohtani will probably get it because if he pitches, even if it's a 5 ERA, people are going to vote for him. Juan Soto could get it because he plays in New York. Fernando Tatis, I wouldn't bank on him because I just don't think the Padres will be in it. Bryce Harper will get his votes. If Kyle Tucker can come alive in that cold wind in Chicago to start the year, Kyle Tucker will be in that argument. Ellie De La Cruz will be in the argument. Francisco Lindor. But I'm going Mookie Betts. I think he's been overlooked a few times. And Mookie Betts, the fact that you can put that man anywhere in the outfield, and you can put that man at second base or shortstop, and he continues to rake, I'm going Mookie Betts as my MVP. I think that's just a career MVP for Mookie Betts. He deserves it. I don't think he got shunned when Ronald won it. I think Ronald definitely had the better year, but he's had some years where you can make the argument that Mookie should have won an NL MVP. And then the Rookie of the Year, we're going with, I know Dylan Cruz is the odds-on favorite, and I get it, but I just wonder how many ups and downs he'll have on that Nationals team. But Dylan Cruz, it's probably the smart bet. He's plus 310 right now. He's probably the smart bet. You got some other guys out there that I am keeping an eye on, but they're just in lower markets like Augustin Ramirez, the catcher for the Marlins. If you haven't paid attention to him, he's got – the sky's the limit for that guy. And we know they can produce catchers. But I'm going to go with A.J. Smith-Shawver, the SSAJ. This is assuming that he gets 25 starts. If they're trigger happy with him, probably not. But I'm going to go with the SSAJ mainly just because I'm a big fan of his. And I can see him going out and getting 10 wins and keeping his ERA well under 4 and his whip at well under 1.2. And if he does that and has a good strikeout rate, which he should, I'm going to have the SSAJ winning the Rookie of the Year. All right, we got all that. Who's going to be in the wild cards? We'll start in the American League real quick. We'll do this much quicker so I can get to any questions or comments. My wild cards in the American League. So obviously we have Boston, Kansas City, and Texas winning the divisions. I like the Cleveland Guardians to get into the playoffs as a wild card. I think somehow the Yankees are going to find their way in. I just don't think they're going to win the division. And my sleeper is going to be the Oakland Athletics. I like the Oakland A's this year. I really like. It's a good young team. They're going to be flying under the radar. As long as they can get off to a good start, the A's will be okay. You do want to circle a couple of names that I left off there. Obviously, Houston's one of them. The Detroit Tigers have an argument to get in as much as anybody else. I just worry about that offense. And then Baltimore, that pitching. If Baltimore could give the offense to the Tigers, or the Tigers could give their pitching to Baltimore, you're talking about a World Series contender. And I think even though they don't win the division, giving the New York Yankees to get to the World Series again, they're going to try to right the ship. And then National League, I've got the Chicago Cubs winning the Central, the Braves winning the East, the Dodgers winning the West. That's all chalk. There's nobody surprised by any of those. My wild cards, I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks to find their way in. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Phillies to find their way in. And that third one, I'm on the fence, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's the Mets. But I could definitely see Milwaukee going well past expectations. I could see the Giants making a move, because if Colorado stinks and San Diego stinks, you're going to load up on a lot of W's. And I could see the Reds, the team that I have as a finishing number 2, getting enough wins. My biggest question with the Reds is, can the pitching withstand 162 games? So there you have the predictions. We'll go to any kind of comments that we have right now. I'm going to try to scroll through here and see them real quick, because kind of had it off to the side because I couldn't do 19 things at once. I cut it off at 18. So let me see here. James says he likes Baldwin to get Rookie of the Year. If I knew they were going to keep him up the whole year, I actually had him as on my list. I just pulled him at the last moment because at best he's expected to split time with Sean Murphy. It's more likely that he might get a true split if he starts out strong. But if not, if he stumbles at all, they're going to send him down to the minors and keep Tromp. If he's playing well, then they might keep him up and have him play 3 and Murphy play 3 in a 6-game week. But there's a good chance that Baldwin gets sent back down because they're going to tell you they want to get him every day at bats. So that's why I left him off, but I do like that. Robert says you could see 3 NL East teams in the playoffs again. Yeah, I do. James says I think the Brewers might brew up some wins. I do. I figure eventually this has to fall short, because every single year we see this, and every single year Milwaukee tends to win. I mean, I can remember doing a show last year with one of the guys. And we're like, I don't even understand how they can be competitive. And we joked with them. You watch, they'll screw around and win the division with these, and that's exactly what they did. I didn't pick them to win. I'm trying to remember. I think I picked the Cubs last year to win, but this year the Cubs have a legitimate reason why they're in there. I don't know what Hellian's saying about the Angels, but I'm reading these backwards, so it's kind of hard to see. The last one that I remember, we'll start with World Drummer. He said Dodgers are going to roll that division. Yeah, I think that's kind of obvious. That someone has a hotter take than that, then I'm all for it. I do think Arizona's got a good team, but look, you don't have to win the division to get to the World Series, as they proved a couple of years. Hellion saying Strider for Cy Young. I'd love to see it. I really would. Let me see. You got anybody else? I saw Charles. Good to see you, Charles. John says Skeens needs to leave Pittsburgh ASAP. He's got like 5 years of control in his contract. He's not going anywhere. Who else do we have in here? John saying the SSAJ, agreeing with the Rookie of the Year. I would assume that's what that was. And I'm not even arguing the whole Baldwin's better than Murphy. The problem is, and you can understand this from the business side, when you commit that much money to Sean Murphy, he's going to get playing time. He's going to get really good playing time. And if nothing else, the reason would be because they don't want to turn Sean Murphy into a backup, because then he'll have no trade value at any point. I don't think he's likely to get traded this year, but he could get traded in the offseason if Baldwin's doing well. So there's that's the conundrum you're in. And look, Sean Murphy still does well behind the plate, calls a good game, et cetera, et cetera. But when it's all said and done, he's not hitting. He hasn't hit in 2.5 years. And they've already baked in the excuse that if he doesn't hit well out of the gates when he comes off the IL, well, he's coming off injury, and then we'll be hearing that all year long. Who is it? Charles says Twins and Braves World Series. Charles just wants to get revenge for was it 91? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it, Charles, because if we're playing the Twins in the World Series, we're going to be heavy favorites. Heavy favorites. Charles has Strider or Sale for Cy Young. And I guess that's about it. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. It is at the top of the hour. But looking forward to a good season. If you missed the live, just jump back in. You can rewind this and watch it whenever. That's your 2025 prediction show. Tried to do as much in depth as I could in an hour. It's a little difficult to get it all in an hour. But spring training ends today. We're not doing the game because they've already announced the starters, and it is garbage. They're going to go through basically the who's who of who's not in the bullpen today. And we will see you Thursday morning. We're going to come on right at noon Eastern, so 11 a.m. Central. And we're going to start the series preview shows. Those are going to be much quicker. We're talking 15 to 20 minutes, if that usually. But we're going to tell you what to expect with the starting pitching, who we're playing, who we're going to face, who we're going to send to the mound, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be every single time that a series begins. So, for instance, Thursday at noon, Monday at noon when we start the Dodger series, the following Friday at noon when we start the Marlins series. We'll do that every time. And then if you miss it, we'll replay the audio, not the video. We'll replay the audio heading into the first game of the series. But if you want to ask questions and whatnot, that's the time to do it, is to put it in the chat, and we'll address those. If not, the rest of the series, we're talking about. So for this series, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday versus the Padres, we're going to come on and do our typical 5 to 10 minute pregame show with all the other festivities going in. But opening day, 4:10 first pitch. We're probably going to start the stream a little earlier than usual, around 3 o'clock Eastern. The first pitch being at 4, just so we can play the replay of the show. Again, got to figure out how that all plays out. But typically what we're going to do is going to be, if the game starts somewhere around the top of the hour, we're going to come on at the bottom of the hour of the previous bottom of the hour. So, for instance, the game on Saturday, I think it's 7:15. We'll come on at 6:30. If the game starts towards the bottom of the hour, like Friday night's game at 9:40, we'll come on the air at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock. We're trying to keep that a little tighter, but we do want to give you all a chance to shoot the bull during the pregame and all that, and then we'll do the pregame show. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. I've talked enough. We'll see you. Have a great one. 2 more days. As my wife likes to say, 2 more sleeps, and it's opening day. We'll see you then.